CVM's weekly recap of the top stories from our newsroom. I'm Joel Crosskill. Guilty. That's the verdict returned in the Supreme Court by a 7-member jury in the case against Tesha Miller. Miller has been found guilty of ordering the killing of then-chairman of the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, Douglas Chambers. The former JUTC chairman was gunned down outside the company's depot in Spanish Town on June 27, 2008. Aladdin Love reports on Miller's verdict.
After completing 2 days of summation in a closely watched trial, presiding judge Justice Georgiana Fraser handed the case against Tesha Miller over to a jury comprising 6 women and a man at 10:50 a.m. on Tuesday. The jury retired to determine his fate in the Home Circuit Court, answering to charges of accessory before and after the fact to the murder of Douglas Chambers. After more than 3 hours of deliberation, the 7-member jury returned with a guilty verdict. Justice Georgiana Fraser had previously urged the jury to consider only evidence presented during the trial, which began on November 13. A self-proclaimed former member of the Spanish Town-based Klansman gang has been the only witness. According to him, Miller told him that the murder of then JUTC chairman Douglas Chambers was a contract killing. He also identified Tesha Miller as the leader of the Klansman gang. However, Miller denied knowing the witness as well as ordering the killing of Chambers. While Tesha Miller's attorney Bert Samuels respects the jury's guilty verdict, he says the Crown witness wasn't credible.
The Crown relied on one main witness whose evidence was in so many respects contradictory and inconsistent with the statement he gave to the police. And he's also a self-confessed murderer. He's also a person that said that he participated in the crime for which Mr. Miller is charged. So with all those defects, we are of the view that he should not stand up to the credibility test.
His next stop is in the Court of Appeal.
I've been there before with Mr. Miller successfully, and I think this is even a stronger appeal that he has now. Because on my team of 4 attorneys, we had a specialist in appeals, and we have already 18 grounds of appeal that we think that could be successful in the Court of Appeal. So we're looking forward to a day in the Court of Appeal. As soon as we get the notes of evidence, we may find more grounds of appeal.
Miller's to be sentenced on January 9, 2020. Aladdin Love for CVM Live.
The government is defending the decision made by the board of the Edna Manley School to suspend the school's principal after she reportedly refused to go on leave amidst the investigation into the string of sexual harassment cases at the institution. According to reports, the principal failed in her capacity to conduct the necessary due diligence when she was made aware of the cases. Jamaica Maitland reports.
Minister with the responsibility for education, Carl Samuda, is standing by Edna Manley's board decision to suspend Dr. Nicolene Degrassi from her post as principal to allow the investigations to proceed. According to the minister, the principal was given the option to go on leave. However, she declined. She has been suspended since July 24.
In an effort to properly investigate the matter, the board invited the principal to take leave. The principal declined the invitation, and as a result, the board asked, in accordance with education regulations, suspending her pending the conclusion of the investigation and hearing.
But opposition spokesman on education Peter Bunting described the suspension as a clear witch hunt, citing that Degrassi had a spotless record during her tenure at Edna Manley. He theorized that she was being sidestepped to make way for pre-approved and possibly JLP-coated professionals whilst alluding to the Petrodram scandal. Dr. Degrassi is accused of mishandling several sexual harassment cases. She reportedly neglected her duties as the head of the institution when teachers and students informed her of being sexually harassed by a senior male lecturer.
They have suspended the principal, someone who has dedicated their career to the institution, starting there as a student, being previously the Dean of Dance with high commendation, having served as a principal since 2012. and we are not aware of any negative performance evaluation.
However, Minister Samuda disagreed, while acknowledging that there has not yet been a hearing for the principal. He assured the public that she will be treated fairly. In the meantime, he announced that the government has established an independent email address to report sexual harassment. And the minister announced that Edna Manley will have a revised sexual harassment policy by the next semester. Jamila Maitland for CVM Live.
An economist and a market analyst are urging the government to carefully examine the country's fiscal room before deciding on a tax break. The comments were made after the opposition People's National Party reignited the tax policy debate. They are calling for a 2% reduction in GCT. However, the duo argued that any decision on a tax break must be in line with the country's long-term development plan. Jamila Maitland reports.
The economists argue that the 2% reduction in the general consumption tax being proposed by the PNP will not benefit the poor. Executive Director of the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, Capri, Dr. Damian King, argued that 2% equates to approximately $30 billion. But he explained that of that amount, less than 10% will impact the poor, since trends show that the poor consume less.
Why would you use $30 billion of fiscal resources in a way that only a tenth of it benefits the poor? If you have $30 billion to play with, put it in the PATH program. That's where all the poor are.
Meanwhile, capital market analyst Simon Johnson is urging the government to continue on its path of fiscal discipline, citing that the country has never experienced this level of fiscal space. He's reminding the public that while the government no longer has a fiscal deficit, it does have a long-term development plan.
If it is that your long-term objective is enhancing and growing the MSME sector and creating opportunities so that the overall economy can grow, then continue to institute policies that are in advancement of such. Continue to increase social services and continue to improve on the infrastructure that over the past couple of decades has been lacking. The health infrastructure, physical infrastructure, the road, etc., education.
And with general election in the air, the tax debate is becoming more frequent as both political parties take jabs at each other and criticize policies. Jamaica is not constitutionally due for an election until 2021, but the market analysts argue that the issue of a tax break must be carefully examined.
My grandmother have a budget. You make money and you spend money as well. If you are here, if you're making this and you're spending this, and you agree to reduce this side, you only have two other things. It's either you increase this side or you reduce this side. Decisions have to be made. So nobody is against the GCT being cut. But we're saying let's approach this in a structured way.
Jamila Maitland for CVM Live.
We take a break. Welcome back. It's our final segment of CVM Live Rewind. The Cockpit Country conversation has been reignited following a recent town hall meeting held in Trelawney at the Webb Memorial Baptist Church. Residents and environmentalists expressed their grievances, reiterating their opposition to mining in or around the Cockpit Country. The town hall meeting was held under the theme, "This House would declare the Cockpit Country a special protected area with its own legal framework." Robian Williams has the details in this report.
Community members and environmental groups have been at odds with players in the bauxite industry over mining near the boundary of the Cockpit Country. In 2017, the protected area was declared, and in 2018, Naranda was granted Special Mining Lease 173, an area adjoining the boundary. This invoked widespread condemnation on the government's part and sparked an all-island debate. All the panelists sang the same chorus.
Withdraw Mining Lease 173 immediately.
It's time to not let Special Mining Lease 173 happen.
Coordinator at the Sustainable Development Unit at UWI-MONA, Dr. David Smith, highlights that the existing Mining Act of 1947 is in desperate need of being brought into the 21st century.
That law needs to be changed, not just because of the cockpit country, but because every square inch, almost, of Jamaica is under a prospecting license. So it may be bauxite today, but it could be gold or quartz or something tomorrow.
He adds that the law needs written regulations and suggested that these designated protected areas be transformed into national parks.
It's destroying the entire island. How are we benefiting? But what we have never done is to actually look at the economic benefits of preserving the cockpit country.
The question was asked recently in Parliament. Will the government revoke Special Mining Lease 173? The minister with portfolio for mining reiterated the government's stance of not withdrawing the lease. The cockpit saga continues. Robianne Williams for CVM Live.
Crocodile attacks at Waves Beach and Hellshire in Portmore have raised concerns about public safety and security in these areas. The National Environment and Planning Agency is now calling on visitors and residents to exercise caution when in close proximity to the reptile's habitat. Khadija Thomas was in Portmore and made this report.
Crocodiles do not feed or harm them. The National Environment and Planning Agency is in the process of erecting more of these signs, warning the public to be aware of potential crocodile activity. This follows an incident earlier this month where two men were bitten by a crocodile and left with severe injuries at Waves Beach in Portmore. However, those who live in the vicinity say these incidents do not happen often.
The only time you see them on the road is when they are passing from forest to forest.
When our news team arrived in Portmore on Friday, tourists and locals seemed far from concerned about the presence of crocodiles in the area. They were too busy enjoying the sun and the sea.
We have always seen them, like when we have heavy rain, they come in the sea and do their thing and make a circle and go right back to the swamp.
Now, these are some of the areas where the crocodiles might lurk at night. However, the residents that we spoke with say the crocodiles will not attack unless they feel threatened.
The crocodile does is that it lives in the pond, and when the rain fall a lot, the rainwater pour into the pond and into the sea. So the seawater becomes a little more fresher. And so when the crocodile are catching off the fish, sometimes they stray.
However, one resident disclosed that since the crocodile attack, less persons are coming to the beach and buying from his business. But what can be done to ensure that residents are kept safe since they appear to be living in the reptile habitat?
I love them do some plans like develop this side of the beach and on North Coast alone nice. You see me? And everybody have money for go we are watching Portland and them place. They want the people who live at downtown and in a Portmore area want to come on beach. Yeah, the government can do something like set up on a beach them and make people can swim nice and make sure she a crocodile in the water and make never come search the water too.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
A commitment made in November 2018 by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is now being fulfilled. Church Street to King Street is currently being redeveloped as part of the KSAMC's mandate in transforming downtown Kingston. Robianne Williams has the details in this report.
Church Street to King Street in downtown Kingston is getting a facelift. Work has already started on Water Lane where bricks are being used to pave the roadway. Mayor of Kingston Delroy Williams explains that the vision behind this project is one that will impact the lives of many.
The intention that the municipal corporation has is to create an entire space larger than this for recreation and leisure for our residents and visitors. And based on what we are seeing, it will become an attractive space.
The work is slated to be completed in another 2 weeks. Mayor Williams adds that though the bricks are expensive, they are more durable than asphalt. In addition, he says there are more projects in the pipeline.
We are in dialogue with several embassies to create an international muralized space with murals from various countries, so that the space will become a space that lure persons into it.
He speaks to the value of these projects.
It has an awesome potential for entertainment, for various creative forms of entertainment, and I'm pretty sure that persons, and we have had that in the city, persons who are doing music video will also find the space useful for that. So the intention is to create a space for leisure, for recreation, to tie that space into the waterfront experience.
Mayor Williams is asking for patience from all the persons being affected by this project.
Sorry for the inconvenience. It is a necessary work, and we are seeking the cooperation of all the residents here and business operators.
Robianne Williams for CVM Live.
And that's it for CVM Live Rewind this week. I'm Joel Crossgill. Stay tuned for today's